Is everybody on the floor? We put some energy into this place. I want to ask you something. Are you ready for the sound of Scooter? I want to see you sweat. I said I want to see you sweat. Yeah. Hyper, hyper. Hyper, hyper. Hyper, hyper. We need the bass drum. Come on. Hyper, hyper. Hyper, hyper. It's so beautiful to see your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air. Come on. This is Scooter. We want to say a big shout to US and to all ravers in the world. And to Westman, Marusha, Stevie Mason, the Mystic Man, DJ Dick, Carl Cox, the Hooligan, Cosmic, Kid Paul, Doug, Mike Van Dyke, Jens Lissard, Lenny D, Slam Fade, Mark Spoon, Marco Zapparano, Hell, Paul Elzak, Mate Gaelic, Robert Kasper, Sylvie, Miss Jax, Jens Marshall, Tadic, Laurent Garnier, Special, Pascal Pios, Gary Day, Scotty, Gizmo, and to all DJs all over the world. We need the hardcore. Come on, come on, hyper, hyper. See them. Be good. Bye bye.
We live on a mountain, right at the top. This beautiful view from the top of the mountain. Every morning I walk towards the edge and throw little things out, like car parts, bottles and cutlery, or whatever I find lying around. It's become a habit, a way to start the day. I go through all this before you wake up, so I can feel happier to be silent.
Good evening. It is 8 o'clock on a Tuesday. We have been winding down from lockdown so gradually that lockdown has started again. Hey! Welcome back to lockdown. Those of you who were aware that we were threatening to reduce the regularity of these, we'll be doing them through October as well, I guess. Isn't that nice? It makes it all worthwhile. Anyway, hi everybody. That wasn't a very good wave. I'm Little Chris, and this is the Quizcazoatl Publess Pub Quiz. Hope you were enjoying my troll through hyperactive music, in a manner of speaking, then. For those of you who are new to the Quizcazoatl Publess Pub Quiz, we take normally a little over 2.5 hours. Feels only like 2 hours and 20 though. We have 4 rounds. In the first round, we will ask you 13 questions that you have to listen to me for. And also, you'll have 7 questions to answer from our picture sheet. If you haven't downloaded the picture sheet yet, I recommend that you do so immediately. You can find the link on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel under About, I guess. Or indeed on the answer sheet if you've already got that open. Or you can go to bit.ly/quizcazoatl_pictures. bit.ly/quizcazoatl_pictures. If you would like to compete against the other players of the Quizcazoatl Publess Pub Quiz, you might also want to get in on the answer sheets. Answer sheets are available bit.ly/quizcazoatl_answers. Simple, isn't it? Again, that link available from the Facebook and the YouTube. In a little bit, we are going to be hearing from our new kids on the block, first-time winners, Katrina and the Second Waves, who won last week. We will also be going to our T-shirt tiebreaker. But before any of that, I should remind you of what the next 3 rounds are, because I interrupted myself. Second round is the music round. Then for round 2 proper, we go back to some more questions and another 7 pictures from the picture sheet. So 1 to 7 in round 1, 8 to 14 in round 2. And finally, we finish off with the Quizcazoatl Wipeout round. Simple, isn't it? I will advise, just in case anyone is new, before we start, it is good to get ahead of the pictures. Certainly start looking ahead now, right up to picture 7, I would recommend, maybe even through to the end. Because if you only do them when they come up in the quiz, so I will be reading them out and putting them on screen, but if you only look at them for the first time then, it makes it that much more difficult to get everything finished, because once we start, we do keep moving. So, without further ado, we are going to start, and then we're going to keep moving. Question 1 of this week's quiz. In popular culture, so presumably not the Russell Crowe movie, but in popular culture, Robin Hood is portrayed as living in which forest? In popular culture, Robin Hood is portrayed as living in which forest? Now remember, we do have the YouTube comment thread. If you would like to ask for anything repeated, ask for a clarification, tell me that the answer sheets aren't working, or insult one of the other teams. So do feel free to use that. And what was the other thing I was going to say? feel like I had two pieces of quadmin to do then. Oh yes, and bear in mind that you can always rewind the YouTube stream. So if you miss a question, you can go back, look it up on the plinth, or even listen to me telling you what it is for the second time. If you do that, do just remember to make sure that you come back up to the front, or else if you end up a few minutes behind, you might miss the scores at the end. Or at least you might miss being scored at the end. Anyway, let's get to question 2. Question 2, Robert Baden-Powell founded which organisation in 1910? Robert Baden-Powell famously founded which organisation in 1910? Okay, question 3 takes us to the first of this week's pictures. We have 7 halves of musical double acts. That makes a total of 3.5 net musical double acts. Can you name them as they appear in the name of the act? So I think in a couple of cases it's important, well, sort of relevant at least, to consider the vintage of those photos and those double acts. Anyway, we have 7 people on show here in the Quizcazoatl publess pub quiz. It is 1 point per answer, 7 people, 7 answers, 7 points available for this question. So just to clarify, we are looking for the name of the individuals pictured as those names appear in the commonly used names of the acts that they were in. So if it was, what would be a good example? If it was Keith Harrison Orville and we had a picture of Orville the duck, the answer would be Orville. I'm going to move us on to question 4. If you haven't quite finished with those, you can come back to them later in the round. Question 4, we're asking what word can mean either a stopper for closing a hole in a container or a bribe. What word can mean a stopper for closing a hole in a container or a bribe? Of course, little Chris is impossible to bribe, but if you did want to offer him a envelope full of money, just bear in mind, little Chris is the only person who gets to see all of the answers. Okay, chasing along to question 5. By area, what is the largest country solely in the southern hemisphere? By area, what is the largest country that is solely in the southern hemisphere? And question 6 takes us all the way back to the pictures. Our second picture, we have some Venn diagrams. Anyone paying attention may notice that these link in to another question we're going to have in the quiz at some point tonight. Ooh, that's exciting. Anyway, we have some pairs of sets of things. Can you work out what item could live in the intersection of the two lists? We have an example on the left, and then we have 3 questions for 3 points on the right. Okay, question 7, and time for a little bit of chemistry. The periodic table entries for which 2 elements appear in the logo of the TV program Breaking Bad? Breaking Bad, it's a show all about taking that chemistry knowledge from high school that you never thought would be useful and putting it into action in the real world, isn't it? But can you tell us which 2 chemical elements feature in the logo of the TV program Breaking Bad? 2 elements, 2 points. Question 8. A little bit of geography and words. What with the words, it is a good moment to remind everyone that this is not a spelling quiz. I know that we have been known to have the occasional dyslexic, or indeed just people who aren't very good at spelling on the quiz, and I also know that it is easy for things to get garbled when you are consulting each other across your message groups. So when we get to the marking, we ask everyone to be generous with spelling, but you're going to need at least a little bit of spelling for this one, because we're asking what are the 4 South American countries that have common English names ending with a consonant? What are the 4 South American countries with common English names ending with a consonant? And question 9 is the third of our pictures for today. We have, this time, some Disney films in their foreign language incarnations. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 films listed there. 7, oh, hang on. Is that 7 or is the first one? No, maybe the first one is in fact 1, or the first 2 are 1. I take it all back. So I guess we have got 6 films to identify there. 6 points available. And before we go to our next T-shirt tiebreak with our T-shirt spot prize winners from last week, Tony and Tim, let's go to question 10. And question 10, we're asking, what would you traditionally do with a Federer? Eat it, play it, or wear it? And we're not going to accept install it, no matter how much you want to say so. T-shirt spot prize winners from last week, Tony and Tim. Okay, everybody, time for our next T-shirt tiebreaker. As those who are new to the Quizcazoatl's Publess Pub Quiz will not know, there is an opportunity to win a limited edition, not available in the shop, Quizcazoatl Publess Pub Quiz T-shirt, or occasionally some other random memorabilia we think is funny at the time. Last week, Tony, a perennial Spot Prize contender, and Tim, let's see, hang on, I should bring them on. There's Tony, and there's Tim. Tim, show off that you already have a T-shirt. There we are. Outrageous, isn't it? He's going for another. So, for the Spot Prize, that's for you, Alon. For the Spot Prize, I'm going to give the gents 3 events from history and challenge them to name the year in which they occurred. I am going to give you, where are we? This is not so far in the past as some, so I'm going to give the first person to buzz in 2 years either way, and the second person 1 year either way on this one. Are you ready to rock?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so our first event, China established its first permanent connection to the internet. I believe previously they were all just hotspotting on someone's phone, but China established its first permanent connection to the internet. Our second event, in Gloucester, local police obtained a search warrant and began excavations at 25 Cromwell Street, the home of Fred West, a man who I am assured used to eat onions as if they were apples, so just don't. And we now have our third event, harking back to the era of the Vicar of Dibley. The Church of England ordained its very first female priests. So we've got the Chinese...
1994?
1994, says Tim. You get plus or minus 2 years either way as the first guest to come in, but you don't need them. That is spot on. 1994, Tim, is the correct answer. Well played, sir.
Thanks.
Tony?
Well done.
That is 2 consecutive misses, but I know that you're going to be back for more soon enough.
I'll be back next week.
Well, we are going to have our Spot Prize questions coming up soon enough. Thank you both for playing, and good luck with the rest of the quiz.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, well played, Tim. For everyone else, let's get back to the main event with question 11. We are asking, before France and later Italy joined, what was the name of what is now rugby's Six Nations Championship? Before France and later Italy joined, what was the name of rugby's Six Nations Championship? And I have also had a request for a repeat on question 4. Oh, that's question 5. Question 4 was, what word can mean either a stopper for closing a hole in a container or a bribe? What word can mean either a stopper for closing a hole in a container or a bribe? And for question 12, we are on to another picture. This time we have more films, disastrous films. And Who's that in the top left? That surely was a cinematic disaster if it's the one I'm thinking of. But we got 5 to identify for 5 available points. Okay, while you think about that, I am going to give you this week's first spot prize question. Now, new contenders, the spot prize questions are a little bit different because you can enter these as an individual. You don't need to help your team, advise your team, you can compete with your team on this one. Send your guesses into me either on email to quizcazoatl@gmail.com. We never have really found out how many people do that every week and spell it wrong and get lost in the ether, but I'm assuming that you can work it out. Or you can send it on a message to the Facebook page, or if you think you can get hold of my attention another way, feel free to do that. I promise to read the messages on Facebook and the email. Anyway, our spot prize question, nearest guess or indeed informed opinion wins. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, what is the longest interval between the birth of 2 twins? According to Guinness World Records, what is the longest interval between the birth of 2 twins? And this is not including anyone who claims to have had twins 20 years apart on IVF or anything of that sort. According to the Guinness World Records, what's the longest interval between the birth of 2 twins? Give it to whatever level of resolution you think is necessary. I certainly don't think we're going to need to go beyond the nearest minute, maybe not even the nearest hour, to distinguish our guesses. Muse on that, get your answers in by question 16, and I will report our first spot prize winner around about question 17, and they will be in for a chance to win a t-shirt in next week's t-shirt tiebreak. Okay, you've got a bit more time to think about that one if you would like to get in for the spot prize opportunity, and of course just the opportunity to be on the plinth. How exciting is that? Your very own head on the Quizcazoatl plinth. But if you don't care, let's get to question 13. About which American president was Lyndon Johnson talking when he said he can't fart and chew gum at the same time? It wasn't President Trump. He ironically literally can't fart. That's a medical fact from the Trump School of Facts. But which US president was Lyndon Johnson talking about when he said he can't fart and chew gum at the same time? question 14. 14 is, of course, back to the pictures. Picture 5, we are in our quest to relive the fun of the early 2000s when serious disease was on the horizon, frankly, with SARS and MERS, but, and let's emphasise the but, not actually happening mostly except for people who were ill. Nevertheless, can you reclaim those lost predictive text skills and tell me 2 words that could go after the word monkey? 2 words to go after the word monkey. 2 points available. And we've had a couple of guesses in on the twins. I'm going to give everyone else a nudge. There's a pretty... we haven't had anyone that close yet, so there is a big window of opportunity here if you think you might like to get in on that Quizcazoatl memorabilia action. And let's keep moving through. Question 15, which US city name comes before 49ers in the name of the NFL, which I believe stands for National Football League, American football team? Which US city comes before 49ers in the name of the NFL football team? Moving through, question 16. What are the names of the 2 main feuding families in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet? What are the names of the 2 main feuding families in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet? That is, of course, question 16, which means now is the last chance to get in your spot prize guesses. What is the longest Guinness World Record winning period between the birth of 2 twins? Okay, question 17 is picture 6, and we have some logos to identify. Unless I am very much mistaken, we have 5 La La logos. Can you name the brands involved? And to be fair, one of them is not porting a La, so we have an L, 3 La's, and some sort of reticent dinosaur. Okay, so the spot prize question this week, well, this one appears to have befuddled a bunch of you. I just think it's been a little bit out of the range that was expected. What do we have? Blinky, he's been up against Tony a few weeks ago. Was it Anne and Tony? Said 32 hours. That's not even nearly long enough. Emma said 50 hours. That's not even long enough, even nearly long enough. Michael, you always answer with an 11. You said 11 days. Michael, you should have said 11 weeks. The correct answer is an epic 87 days. I am informed that the lady in question was not in labour for this entire period. The first of the twins was premature. The second was born 87 days later, and to the best of my knowledge, both are doing just fine. That means that with a not very close to 87 days guess, but also not too far off, 7 weeks, 49 days from Jess of Katrina and the Second Waves. Jess, you have got our first spot prize. If you also manage to win on spot prize number 2, that is just a big win for you. You will be finding yourself the proud owner of a Quizcazoatl Publess Pub Quiz t-shirt. Otherwise, you will be on for the tiebreaker next week. Now, question 18. And here we go. This is a good old nautical question, back when England could be proud of its Brexit tendencies. How many ships did Nelson's fleet lose at the Battle of Trafalgar? I'm assuming this doesn't just mean in the fog. I think they probably sank. How many ships did Nelson's fleet lose at the Battle of Trafalgar? Okay. Oh, let us also get to our last picture of the round. We have got 3 people, all born in the same year. Can you give me the names of these 3 likely looking individuals? And for a 4th point, the year that they were born. We will give you plus or minus 1 year on that. For no bonus point whatsoever, tell me whether the hat on the left is genuinely on his head or has been photoshopped on later. Okay, time for the last question of round 1. That, of course, means if you do want a reminder on any questions we've had, now is the time to ask. If not, I'm going to give you this question. I am then going to give you a 5-minute countdown. That gives you a little bit of a break to get another drink, take a comfort break, do whatever you need to do. Also, of course, to finish getting any last questions answered. Before you can worry about any of that, though, you need to worry about question 20. What is the more common name for an analgesic? What is the more common name for an analgesic? Okay, here's your 5 minutes. Good luck getting anything answered. When the counter counts down, we will be back with the music round. Do remember, when you hand your sheets in, we'll be very grateful if you can give us the email address for one of your team who would be happy to do some marking. It saves a lot of time and trouble if I do not have to mark the answers myself. We will not use your email address to send you any marketing spam, but it is outside possible that if Jane does some unique Quizcazoatl memorabilia for your team, that we'll send you a copy of it. Also, do remember when you click through to get your music round answer sheet, just follow the links after you submit the first one to use the same team name for the second round, or else it makes you a lot harder to identify. Okay, welcome back everybody. I hope that you all had time to do whatever it is that you need to do. With the end of round 1, we come into our music round. Our regulars will know that in the music round we are going to play you 6 songs, or one from the 60s, or one from the 70s, one from the 80s, one from the 90s, one from the noughties, and one from the tenties. Can you identify both the performing artist and the song title? I'll warn you in advance, the people who do this quiz have introduced a round for the new 20s. I am not including that, but I forgot to edit it out of the sound file this week. So if you get a little snippet of something else after the 20s, do not worry. That is just a 20s song that you've never heard and will never hear again. So here we go. Starting at the 60s, ears down, listen in. I'm just going to interrupt for a second and say, I do hate it when they put in these relatively successful artists, because you can bet your bottom dollar that the people behind that one are going to do us for copyright infringement and that this episode is going to get taken off the air. Anyway, so it goes. Enjoy it properly, because it's very rude to interrupt. It's a classic.
I saw 4 faces, one man, a brother from the gutter. They looked me up and down a bit and turned to each other. I say, I don't like cricket. Oh no, I love it.
I'm heading down the Atlanta highway, looking for the love getaway, headed for the love getaway.
I got me a car, it's as big as a whale, and we're heading on down.
Say that we've got nothing in common, no common ground to start from, and we're falling apart. You'll say the world has come between us, our lives have come between us.
When she was just a girl, she expected the world, but it flew away from her reach, so she ran away in her sleep.
Okay, take a moment to think on those, then I will play them for you one more time. Okay, let's have them once more. For those of you who have kindly agreed to do marking, the marking links are going to be winging their way through the etherwebs during this next play, so do check your email. We will be going over the round 1 answers straight after this run through.
I saw 4 faces, one mad, a brother from the gutter. They looked me up and down a bit and turned to each other. I say, I don't like cricket. Oh no, I love it.
I'm heading down the Atlanta highway, looking for the love getaway, headed for the love getaway.
I got me a car, it's as big as a well, and we're heading on down.
You'll say that we've got nothing in common, no common ground to start from, and we're falling apart. You'll say the world has come between us, our lives have come between us.
From her reach, so she ran away in her sleep.
Okay, hopefully you could work out most of those music round questions, songs. End of the music round means it is time to go to the round 1 marking. And now you do have, in principle, you can put someone to marking these and let everyone else keep on fighting over the music answers. But we do need those music answers in by the time I finish giving you the round 1 solutions, because after that, straight to round 2, we don't stop. Anyway, hopefully you have all got your marking links. Everything ought to be populated. So let's get to it. Round 1, question 1, we asked, in popular culture, Robin Hood is portrayed as living in which forest? He wears Lincoln green, but he lives in Sherwood Forest. Sherwood Forest. Question 2. Robert Baden-Powell founded which organisation in 1910? It was the Scouts, or the Boy Scouts, or indeed equally the Girl Guides. Scouts, Boy Scouts, or Girl Guides for the point there. Question 3. This is picture 1, and there are 7 points available here. So we have Duncan of PJ and Duncan fame. However, fear not, they did rebrand as Ant and Dec, and we are accepting Dec as well. Generous to a fault. We then have Tina Turner, as in, I guess, Ike and Tina Turner. Cher, as in Sonny and Cher. The Fresh Prince, as in Jazzy Jeff, was it? And the Fresh Prince. Hall, as in Hall and Oates. If you were looking very carefully at the Venn diagrams, you had a little bit of a clue to Mr. Hall, as you did to Robson of Robson and Jerome, and of course, finally, Simon of Simon and Robot Garfunkel. So 7 points for Duncan, Tina Turner, Cher, the Fresh Prince, not accepting Will Smith there, had to be the Fresh Prince, Hall, Robson, and Simon. Question 4. We asked, let's see, I see that we do have a couple of gratuitous full names in the answers there. Maybe dock half a point for putting full names instead of only the appropriate surnames, but only do it once. Let's be generous. Generous to a fault. Anyway, question 4. What word can mean a stopper? Roxon instead of Robson. Well, that is really quite wrong, but it's the sort of wrong that probably comes from transcribing something that one of your teammates said. So I would say let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I think someone in that team knew that it was Robson. Question 4. What word can mean a stopper for closing a hole in a container or a bribe? That is a bung. A bung for a point. A bribe to me behind the hot water pipes at Paddington Station for 2 points. Question 5. By area, what is the largest country solely in the southern hemisphere? And that is Australia. It is larger, but also sort of desertier than Brazil. So there you go. Question 6. We had 3 Venn diagrams. We had Dove. That is where moisturizers meet birds. Apparently, we can also accept Swan, a brand with which I am unfamiliar. Then we have Dave, as in, I guess, Chaz and Dave. That is where the second half of musical double acts meets TV channels. And finally, we have Dover. So that is Ports Cinq. How is one supposed to pronounce that in the French way? I am not familiar with that grouping. The Cinque Ports, a bad name for a port. And US state capitals. Periodic tables, the entries for which 2 elements appear in the logo of Breaking Bad. Well played, whoever just put BR and BA, but I'm afraid that isn't quite good enough. We are after bromine and barium. Now, bromine isn't quite the same as bromide, so if anyone put bromide, give half a point for bromide. Question 8. Bromine and barium, anyway, 2 points available. Question 8. 4 South American countries with common English names that end with a consonant, Carol. Or I suppose Rachel, latterly. So they would be Brazil, Ecuador, Paraguay, and if you got Paraguay, you surely should have got Uruguay. Brazil, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay, 4 points. I'll remind us again, or tell you if it's the first time you've listened, we do not enforce any sort of ordering in the pub quiz, even when the pictures sort of look like they lend themselves to a natural order. So do make sure that the answers are not correct and simply not in the order that I read them out. Brazil, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay. Question 9. 6 Disney films taken into non-English. First off, we had Ratatouille. Sort of like Cyrillic or something. What alphabet was that? Anyway. Then Frozen. Then Toy Story 3. I guess that we need the 3 there. Then Tangled. What was it? We had Tangled a little while ago, and someone put... And I can't think what it was now. Sounds a bit hippie to me. Lost a wipeout on getting Tangled wrong. But anyway, hopefully you've got it in your heads by now. Then The Little Mermaid. And finally, it's the Fishy Wishies, Finding Nemo. 6 points available for Ratatouille, Frozen, Toy Story 3, Tangled, The Little Mermaid, and Finding Nemo. Question 10. What would you traditionally do with a Federer? It isn't replace Windows with it. It is wear it. A Federer is a hat. Wear it for a point. Question 11. Before the dastardly Continentals were invited on, back when we didn't realise that Brexit meant Brexit, the name of rugby's Six Nations Championship without France and Italy was the Home Nations, or the Home Nations Championship, if you like. 4 Nations, good guess, but I'm afraid that is not a point. Question 12, 5 disaster films, presumably just for the cinematography. First we have Interstellar, then on to Independence Day, then The Towering Inferno, Armageddon, and San Andreas. 5 points available for Interstellar, Independence Day, The Towering Inferno, Armageddon, and San Andreas. About whom did Lyndon Johnson say that he can't fart and chew gum at the same time? That was Gerald Ford. It was sanitised to walk and chew gum when it was reported in the press. Looks like everybody was able to monkey around and find our 2 predictive texts, Monkey Nuts and Monkey Puzzle. Nuts and Puzzle, 2 points. Which US city name comes before 49ers to give us a NFL American football team? That is San Francisco. San Francisco. The names of the feuding families in Romeo and Juliet, Montague and Capulet. If you put Capulet and Montague, you're going to have to brawl with the nearest Montague about why you didn't put their name first, but you still get the points. 2 are available. Question 17. 6 points here for the LA Lakers, the Lad Bible, Lacoste, Land Rover, and Lancôme. Lancôme? It's got a is that a circumflex? It's got a hat on anyway. Circumflex is different, isn't it? What do you call the hat? Anyway, 5 points for LA Lakers, Lad Bible, Lacoste, Land Rover, and Lancôme. How many ships did Nelson's fleet lose at the Battle of Trafalgar? A trick question of sorts. The answer was 0. He was telling those Frenchies that Brexit meant Brexit, and it meant Brexit in the firmest possible terms. Question 19. Can we name 3 people in picture 7 and the year in which they were born? That is Elvis Costello, the man in the pretend hat, Oprah Winfrey, and finally, James Cameron, he of Raising the Bar fame. Elvis Costello, Oprah Winfrey, and James Cameron, born in 1954. That's, where did that came up? Was that came up as the year in something or other we were doing earlier as well, didn't it? Anyway, so we'll accept 53, or no, it didn't, it was 94. Take it all back. We'll accept 53 or 55. So a point for 53, 54, or 55. That means 4 points available there. Finally, What is the more common name for an analgesic? That is a painkiller. Painkiller, one of the better Judas Priest records also. Well done for everyone there. At this point, you must, if you haven't already, submit your music round answers because we are going straight on and into round 2. And at the start of round 2, it's your friend and mine. It is our anagram. Can you give the only other single English word that uses all the letters of, which is a very elaborate way of saying it's an anagram, vector? One word anagram for vector. And we'll let that one stew in the back of your mind as we go forward, and we'll do question 2 as well. What type of creature is a John Dory? What type of creature is a John Dory? And let's get to question 3 as well. This takes us back to our pictures. Picture 8 is our first picture here. We have got the initials of 4 songs. They all have a country in the title. There's a little clue. Can you give the full song titles? And let us move to question 4 as well. Ooh, where am I? Question 4. The name of which Oxford University College means Body of Christ in Latin? The name of which Oxford University College means Body of Christ in Latin? And question 5. In which century did the population of British people living in towns exceed those living in rural areas for the first time? In which century did the population of British people living in towns exceed those living in rural areas for the first time? And while you all think about that, I am going to give Katrina and the Second Waves, our new kid on the block, first time winners from last week, their very first t-shirt question. As an added twist this week, and not realising why we haven't done this earlier, we're going to be offering them a choice between a t-shirt or a set of highly sought after Quizcazoatl publess pub quiz, not available in the shops, face masks for COVID control purposes. Isn't that exciting? Anyway, so our question for Katrina and the Second Waves, and only for Katrina and the Second Waves. Everyone else, you can, well, don't ignore it. You can think about it, but don't tell me what you think about it. That's the point. Our question for Katrina and the Second Waves is, which two countries are claimed to have the world's oldest political alliance? Which two countries are claimed to have the world's oldest political alliance? You have 30 seconds. And we were supposed to have the countdown tune there, like we normally do, but for reasons which are not entirely clear to me, we don't. So, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, boo! There we go, that gets the sense. Imagine me as Richard Whiteley. And the answer I have been given from Katrina and the Second Waves is Portugal, England. That is right. Well played, gang. That was perhaps made slightly easier by the fact that Katrina and the Second Waves are spread between Portugal and England. There you go. But we can afford to be a little generous with a first-time winner. Once you won it about 6 times, I'll start giving you stinky questions like I used to give Panic at the Tesco Express. Anyway, Temple Monkeys, take note. That means that we have 2 memorabilium to distribute this week. For everyone else, let's get back to our pictures. With picture, is it 9 now? We have got 6. Look at the lovely filters on those. 6 slightly differently coloured people who are young. I need you to imagine, what would a young person look like if they were older and still a person and probably more famous? And then tell me their names. That's the idea. 6 people, at least 2 of those look pretty much the same as they do now. But anyway, 6 names, 6 points available. Let's have a quick scores update. Having seen the potential rewards of winning, I'm sure you all want to know how well you're doing at winning this week. Well, It's a pretty tight pack, but we do have a couple of teams pulling ahead. We have got former winners, sounds a bit hippie to me, on 44, back in the mid-tier. Meet the Parents on 46. World Health Organization doing pretty well on 49. Midway Kings on 45. Katrina and the Second Waves, 47. Who else have we got? Lockdown Haircuts on 42. The Footlins on 40. And the proud middling Brit Short Expats, 44.5. I think that was everyone. If you didn't get read out, do feel free to ping me. So, everything to play for as we move through round 2. And in a couple more questions' time, we'll also be going back and answering the music round. Before any of that, question 7. At their narrowest points, which is narrower, the English Channel or the Strait of Gibraltar? At their narrowest points, which is narrower, the English Channel or the Strait of Gibraltar? Alrighty, question 8. This takes us to our next audio question. Here we are going to have some mystery voices. Can you name the 3 people in these clips? 3 voices. Listen to how the voices sound and listen to the things they say. I'll play them once. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then I will play them again.
Number 1.
Me and Evan Goldberg, my writing partner, had a lot of very strange ideas that kind of went on to become movies like This Is the End and Sausage Party and Pineapple Express. But at the time, Judd was like, we just need to do something simple, like something that is just relatable and just you get instantly. And I almost think conversationally one day he was like, we just make a movie about you getting a girl pregnant.
Number 2.
I have said this before and I'll say it again, that I do actually think when we have a criminal justice system that continuously fails in this country, and actually on that basis alone, I would actually support the reintroduction of capital punishment to serve as a deterrent, because I do think we do not have enough deterrence in this country.
Number 3.
About the jungle. No one talks about football. They forget I spent my whole life in football, from the age of 15 up until sort of a year ago. And suddenly no one talks to everyone. It's all about the jungle.
Okay, let's have those a second time.
Number 1.
Me and Evan Goldberg, my writing partner, had a lot of very strange ideas that kind of went on to become movies like This Is the End and Sausage Party and Pineapple Express. But at the time, Judd was like, we just need to do something simple, something that is just relatable and just you get instantly. And I almost think conversationally one day he was like, we just make a movie about you getting a girl pregnant.
Number 2.
I have said this before and I'll say it again, that I do actually think when we have a criminal justice system that continuously fails in this country, and actually on that basis alone, I would actually support the reintroduction of capital punishment to serve as a deterrent, because I do think we do not have enough deterrence in this country.
Number 3.
About the jungle. No one talks about football. They forget I spent my whole life in football, you know, from the age of 15 up until sort of a year ago. And suddenly no one talks about it. It's all about the jungle.
Okay, can you imagine thinking someone was so obnoxious they deserved capital punishment? I know I can. Anyway, question 9. On a standard dice, what do the two numbers on opposite sides always add up to? On a standard dice, what do the two numbers on opposite sides always add up to? And let's have question 10, and then we'll go to the music answers. Question 10 is where our picture numbers meet our question numbers, which is exciting if you like that sort of thing. We have the odd ones out are back. You thought it was all over. No, it was just a teaser. Odd ones out are back in. We have got some lyrics to Billie Jean. We have got some towns and cities named after people. We've got some... Well, I guess that's supposed to say not in physical print anymore, rather than EOT in physical print anymore. I'm sure on the big sheet it says not. And finally, we've got real animal names. Can you find the cuckoos in those 4 nests? Okay, the music round answers ought to have populated in your marking sheets, so please open them again. If you closed it after round 1, just go back to that same link from before, and let's see how everybody did in the music round. First off, we've got, from the 60s, the song which is probably going to get us taken off YouTube for this episode, but so it goes. It is an absolute banger. Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. I see only a couple of teams lost a point there. Mysteriously, one of them being Sounds a Bit Hippie to Me, who I know for a fact were discussing that it was Bob Dylan earlier. So there you go. Bye point. 70s song. I think I'm impressed by how many got this. It is 10cc with Dreadlock Holiday. 10cc Dreadlock Holiday. Into the 80s, and everyone got this one, of course. It is Love Shack, the B-52s. Through to the 90s, I will always, just because it sort of comes up and I'm reminded of it, remember the Dennis Pennis introduction to this one on Top of the Pops. He said, for most people, when you say Breakfast at Tiffany's, they remember the movie. And this song isn't going to change any of that. Well, 30 years later, Dennis Pennis, we still remember. Can you imagine that? Deep Blue Something with Breakfast at Tiffany's. Think everyone got that right. Well played. Into the 2000s, we have a little bit more variance. Suddenly getting told that lots of people don't have answers. Except some of them are also coming through. I don't know why that's gone so slowly. Let's just take a moment. My apologies for the delay. Might just be things getting stuck in the tubes a little bit there. It's all too much, isn't it? Let's have a look. Well, see, that one's been both filled in and answered. Someone, in fact, has such confidence they've gone ahead and marked it in advance by the look of things on the one I'm looking at, despite the fact that, despite the fact that one of them is in fact wrong. Controversially, we'll come to that in a minute. Well, I am very sorry that the answers took so long to come through. That is really unusual. For those who aren't used to the process, we do have our very own Quizcazoatl patented system of pulleys and levers operating through Google Sheets that enable us to bring your answers in and then send them back out. It's a very clever system, but it is prone to some slight delays sometimes, so I can only apologise to everyone who was frantically wondering what was happening. It looks like people have them now, so probably you remember anyway, but we had Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan for the 60s. Whoever is marking Team 3, that should be 2 points, not 1 point, you son of a gun. Then Dreadlock Holiday, 10cc, for another 2 points available. Into the 80s, we had Love Shack by the B-52s. Have I still got the artist and song backward on a lot of these answer sheets? It's amazing how persistent that problem is. I need to sort that out once and for all. My apologies. Thank you, Marcus 3. What was I saying? Love Shack B-52s. Into the 90s, we had Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something. And finally, then into the 2010s, we have Empire State of Mind. Team 3 markers, you leapt too soon. It is not New York State of Mind. It is Empire State of Mind. I guess you can give half a point for New York State of Mind if you feel generous. That was Jay-Z featuring Alicia Keys. You do need both of them for their fifth. The tenties, the noughties. So half a mark for Jay-Z, half a mark for Alicia Keys. And finally, we had Paradise by Coldplay. I've been overruled. They've taken the half mark. They're being firm. Anyway, I will report back in a couple of minutes once the answers, once those scores have filtered back through the tubes on how everyone is doing. In the meantime, let's give you question 11. Oh, no, even better. Let's give you a spot prize question. So, our second spot prize to take Jess Worth on in the battle of the people doing the spot prize. I'm looking for an answer in Great British Pound Sterling on this one. What was the maximum recorded value of the Bitcoin? This was achieved on the 17th of December 2017. All of you who were desperately trying to decide when to sell and then didn't, you may remember this. What was the maximum value of one Bitcoin, which was achieved on 17th December 2017. Send your answers in as ever to quizcazoatl@gmail.com, on the Facebook Messenger, or any other way you think you can get my attention. Okay, let's get on. Got a couple of answers coming in that look like they're in the right ballpark. Everything to play for, though. Question 11 of the main quiz. With an unusual rock formation, not in the San Andreas sense, unusual rock formation known as the Three Sisters, in which country would you find the Blue Mountains? Is it the Blue Mountains of Virginia, on the Trail of the Lonesome Pine? I'm not sure. Katrina and the second waves, it was all true. You were gypped out of a point on Trafalgar. That will be rectified in future scores updates. Question 12 takes us to picture number 11. We have some red letter words. 6 red letters in 6 acronyms and initialisms. Can you tell me what the red letters stand for? 6 points available. Okay, a chance for a scores update. Well, the Footlins have had a very solid music round, 12 points, and they have caught up, but still just about in, in 8th place. On 52, though, only 1 point behind Lockdown Haircuts and Sounds a Bit Hippie to Me on 53. The proud middling Brit Short Expats at 55.5 in 5th place, just half a point behind the Midway Kings and Meet the Parents, 56 points each. The World Health Organization lost 2 points in the music round and have been leapfrogged. They are now including that extra Trafalgar point that Katrina and the second waves insisted upon, trailing by 1, 59 to 60. Only 8 points spanning the teams. Everything to play for as we proceed through the rest of round 2. On the subject of which, question 13. Rafael Nadal was born on which island? Rafael Nadal was born on an island, but which one was it? I'm also being told on good authority that Sounds a Bit Hippie to Me definitely wrote Bob Dylan, even though he disappeared in the ether online to the answers. So, seeing as, because I am on a WhatsApp chat with them and I literally knew that they'd identified it as Bob Dylan earlier, I am giving them that answer. Complain all you like, but Jane is in charge of designing your team-specific t-shirts. So if you're mean to her, then probably your t-shirt will just have a poo on it when you get it. So careful. Excitingly, I have solved the conundrum of the missing Bob Dylan. At some point during the fiasco of the missing... Well, that's all very interesting. At some point during the fiasco of the missing... of the cells that wouldn't accept an answer more than 10, which you may remember from a while ago, looks like I accidentally added a data validation condition to the artist for the 60s song on answer sheet 5, that it had to be a number. So there we go. So Bob Dylan was rejected on that ground, and therefore only right they should get their point back. Anyway, that's of no great interest to anyone except me, but I thought I'd share it nevertheless. Question 14 takes us to picture 12, and we have paraphrased 6 sport people's surnames. And there is a symbolic representation of the sports in question on the left. Can you work out who they are from the answers on the right? And it seems that due to a technical oversight, I have given you question 15 there instead of question 14. Forgetting that, of course, question 14 of round 2 is the film clips. So apologies if you started writing in those paraphrased sport people's surnames. And that should have been question 15. You can just copy-paste them down one, hopefully. Let's do some films. So, as ever, I'll play them once. You have a bit of time to discuss, then I'll play them again. 3 films to identify.
Number 1.
82, 82, 82.
82 what, Ray?
Toothpicks.
It's a lot more than 82 toothpicks, Ray.
Plus 246 total.
Change. Ray, how many toothpicks are there?
250.
Pretty close. Come on, let's go, Ray.
246.
There's 4 left in the box.
Number 2.
I've seen your wedding album. You've tried on every dress in Sydney.
That doesn't mean I'm getting married.
What else does it mean?
I want to get married. I've always wanted to get married. If I can get married, it means I've changed. I'm a new person.
Hang on a second. Not only are these film clips late, but they seem to be the ones from last week. Who's in charge here? Jane, why didn't you get all of this sorted when you were not writing Bob Dylan earlier? Outrageous. Floff, 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 floff. Alright, let's do this one more time. You're a Rain Man. Okay, well there we are. So it was a little blast from the past, wasn't it? Jolly exciting to look back to happier times before the lockdown was reintroduced. Let's try that again.
Number 1.
We had all followed the Ray Brower story very closely because he was a kid our age. 3 days before, he had gone out to pick blueberries, and nobody'd seen him since.
I know the back Harlow Road. It comes to a dead end by the Royal River. The train tracks are right there.
Could he have gotten all the way from Chamberlain to Harlow? That's really far.
He must have started walking on the train tracks and just followed them the whole way. Yeah, right. And then after dark, a train must have come along and all smacko.
I bet you anything that if we find him, we'll get our pictures in the paper.
Yeah, we could even be on TV.
Sure.
We'll be heroes.
Yeah.
Number 2.
You want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. And one night, he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets the kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. He takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?"
Number 3.
He was simply doing everything possible to keep alive the illusion of his mother being alive. He'd dress up, even to a cheap wig he bought. He'd walk about the house, sit in her chair, speak in her voice. He tried to be his mother. Now that's what I meant when I said I got the story from the mother.
It's sad when a mother has to speak the words that condemn her own son, but I couldn't allow them to believe that I would commit murder.
Okay, let us have those just one more time.
Number 1.
We had all followed the Ray Brower story very closely because he was a kid our age. 3 days before, he had gone out to pick blueberries, and nobody'd seen him since.
I know the back Harlow Road. It comes to a dead end by the Royal River. The train tracks are right there.
Could he have gotten all the way from Chamberlain to Harlow? That's really far.
He must have started walking on the train tracks and just followed them the whole way. Yeah, right. And then after dark, a train must have come along and all smacko.
I bet you anything that if we find him, we'll get our pictures in the paper.
Yeah, we could even be on TV.
Sure.
We'll be heroes.
Yeah.
Number 2.
want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. And one night, he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets the kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. He takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?"
Number 3.
He was simply doing everything possible to keep alive the illusion of his mother being alive. He'd dress up, even to a cheap wig he bought. He'd walk about the house, sit in her chair, speak in her voice. He tried to be his mother. Now that's what I meant when I said I got the story from the mother.
It's sad when a mother has to speak the words that condemn her own son, but I couldn't allow them to believe that I would commit murder.
Okay, let us get back to the questions. We had 15, that was the paraphrase sports people. Let's go on to 16. If something is galine, or possibly galine, if you prefer, it relates to or resembles which culture? If something is galine or galine, it relates to or resembles which, I beg your pardon, culture? A Freudian slip there somewhere. It relates to or resembles which creature? Something is galine, it relates to or resembles which creature? Not to be confused with Gallic, which is a whole different thing. And of course that is question 16, so it's a pretty tight one for the Bitcoin values, certainly compared to the twins earlier, but you still have a last chance to get your answer in. The highest ever value achieved by Bitcoin in pounds sterling. And our penultimate picture for this week's quiz, we have some missing vowels in London Underground stations. Also missing gaps, so mind the gap. Yes, missing vowels and gaps in the names of London Underground stations. 4 points available. And while you think about those, I can tell you that the value of a Bitcoin peaked at an excessive £14,748.90. We had some pretty good answers in on this one, but Blinky, many times past contender, said £15,412, which means, Blinky, you were pipped to the post by Tony on 15,285. I would be telling you that Tony and or Anne are going to be represented again as they always are, except that Emma got even closer, 14,998. Well played, Emma. I think this is going to be the first time we see you on a t-shirt tie break, so we will look forward two entirely fresh faces in the T-shirt tiebreak next week. It is going to be Emma versus Jess. And let's also go to question 18. Give any one modern-day country that forms the coastline which is known as the Spanish Main. Give any one modern-day country that forms the coastline known as the Spanish Main. And there are a couple of possible answers there. There is only 1 point available for the question, though, so do not list them. If you put extra countries down and you get one of them wrong, it may go badly for you. So pick one. Question 19 takes us to our last picture of the day. We have some missing words in famous speeches and indeed famous speakers. Can you fill in the missing words? I think probably mostly words on this one. Missing words or names from these four speeches. 4 points available. You do have a little bit of help. The dashes indicate the number of letters in each of the words. Note that the slashes are just there to more clearly indicate spacing. So where on the third one it wraps to a new line, that is just a space, and the slash space is just a space. It's just spaces. Okay, time for the very last question of the bit before the wipeout round of this week's Quizcazoatl's Publess Pub Quiz. As popularised by Malcolm Gladwell, I feel like we may be missing a something in Malcolm, but maybe that's how he spelt it. Malcolm Gladwell, in his bestseller, Outliers, The Story of Success. How many hours of practice does it take to become an expert or master performer in a given field? And I will emphasise for the record This is nonsense, but it is in the book, so according to the book, how many hours of practice does it take to become an expert or master performer in a given field? That is the end of round 2. If you would like anything repeated, now is the time to say so. Otherwise, I am going to give you a little bit of a countdown to get your round 2 answers finished, and after that, we are going to be going straight to the wipeout round. Okay, everybody, hopefully you have given those round 2 answers in. Remembering that at the end of round 2, technically you don't start a new Google form, you just start a new page, so you do not need to write your name in again. But I do recommend it's probably best not to try going back to change those answers. It is a considerable risk that they will have disappeared when you get there, so try going back from the wipeout round at your peril. You will, of course, submit at the end. In the wipeout round, we have a couple of variations on the normal structure. First off, the last letter of every answer is the first letter of the following answer. So you get a little bit of a chain that you can follow. Lead your way out of the labyrinth of wipeout, like Theseus escaping the Minotaur, or similar. You also have a risk. The Minotaur may pounce, because if you get anything wrong, not just blank but wrong, you lose all of your wipeout points. That's why we call it the wipeout. Finally, however, if you are brave or foolish and you evade the beast, then there are 2 bonus points to be had if you get all 6 points in the regular way. So, With no further ado at all, time to go to our first wipeout question. And it is, what 10-letter word means a substance capable of causing cancer in living tissue? What 10-letter word means a substance capable of causing cancer, which is sort of more alliterative than is appropriate for the subject matter, in living tissue? Now, I don't want you to think that the quiz setters have been in a macabre frame of mind this week, but more disease for wipeout question 2. Indicating a new pathogen of a previously unknown type, what word was put before coronavirus to form a provisional name for COVID-19? Indicating a new pathogen of a previously known type, what word was put before coronavirus to form a provisional name for COVID-19? Okay, wipeout question 3. Which king, not to be confused with a racehorse, portrayed by Gerard Butler in the film 300, led the Allied Greek forces to a last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae? Which king, portrayed by Gerard Butler in the film 300, led the Allied Greek forces to a last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae? Did you know that the Spartans were accompanied by thespians at the Battle of Thermopylae? It was all just an act. Wipeout question 4. What is the name of the red Italian wine grape variety that derives its name from the Latin for the blood of Jupiter? What's the name of the red Italian wine grape variety that derives its name from the Latin for the blood of Jupiter? Wipeout question 5, near the end of yet another Quizcazoatl Publess Pub Quiz. Who was the captain of the Belgium national men's football team for the 2018 FIFA World Cup? Who was the captain of the Belgium national men's football team for the 2018 FIFA World Cup? And our final question for a wipeout that I think maybe you haven't found as easy as some, but we'll see how we do. Named after a French Benedictine monk, what is the name of the famous brand of vintage champagne produced by Moet and Chandon? Named after a French Benedictine monk, what's the name of the famous brand of vintage champagne produced by Moet and Chandon? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Yeah, the umlaut was not listed in my set of special characters. The font still has no special characters in. Isn't that sad? I have to use a Visual Basic macro to replace all the accents, and I hadn't done umlaut rhyme, so it's just gone. It goes. For anyone not watching the chat or aware of the ridiculous hoops I set myself to jump through, none of that would have made sense. What will make sense is that you now have 2 minutes to get your wipeout questions answered and to submit the round 2 and wipeout answers. When the counter counts down, I am going to give you a little bit of Baz Jones's vocal piano-a-thon, which I believe is going to be a medley of Beatles songs today, which sounds rather exciting. Once all of the answers have filtered in, then we will go to the final marking of this week's pub quiz. Well, disappointingly, we seem to have lost the Beatles there. So let us try instead going to something more Beach Boysy. And we're also not getting any sound off of that due to, just due to whatever it is.
You know it's gonna make it that much better when we can say goodnight and stay together. Wouldn't it be nice if we could wake up in the morning when the day is new? And after having spent the day together, hold each other close the whole night through. The happy times together we've been spending, I wish that every kiss was never ending. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Maybe if we think and wish and hope and pray it might come true. Run, run, we-oh. Maybe then there wouldn't be a single thing we couldn't do. We could be married, we could be happy, then we'd be happy. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Seems the more we talk about it, it only makes it worse to live without it. But let's talk about it. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Run, run, good night, baby. Sleep tight, baby. Good night, baby. Sleep tight, baby.
Okay, thank you for getting those answers in promptly. It looks like we are ready to run through the round 2 answers. Seeing as I didn't check last time and they weren't populated, let's have a quick shufty. Well, it looks like those are coming through. Let me know if your particular instance hasn't. But let's do it. It's time for round 2. So, question 1, I think everyone got the anagram. It was covert, for a point. What type of creature is a John Dory? It's a fish. Is that a callback to the Finding Nemo in round 1? Perhaps it is. Question 3. We had 4 full song titles to identify. We had from the Bangles, Walk Like an Egyptian. Then Jimi Hendrix's infamous Voodoo Chili. Bad for the digestive system. Then Israelites by Desmond Dekker. And finally, China in Your Hand by T'Pau. Looks like everyone got all of those. The Latin for Body of Christ is Corpus Christi. It is at Oxford College and a variety of churches. In which century did the population of British people living in towns exceed those living in rural areas? It is as the Industrial Revolution really got its act together. It is the 19th century, the 1800s. Those who said the 18th century, I apologise if you get mixed up between centuries and hundreds, but it's wrong. Whoever said the 12th century, brave. Very strong, but very premature. Question 6, name 6 people. Well, it is, of course. Now, the question has been raised, if someone's written Voodoo Child, when very clearly it's supposed to be Voodoo Child, because in order to meet the criteria, it has to be spelt the same as chili. So I'm going to say anyone who wrote child, well, it's a little harsh, but I think I'm going to dock half a point if you put Voodoo Child instead of Voodoo Child, because there is no country known as Child, except in some niche versions of the QAnon conspiracy. So half a point if you put Voodoo Child instead of Voodoo Chili. If you've spelt it chili with I-double-L-I, then by all means have a bonus point. Righty then. Back to the matter at hand. Oh, that's not the matter at hand. Where were we? Oh, yes. Question 6. We had 6 people to name. Andrew Lincoln of Teacher's fame and latterly The Walking Dead. Then we had a young Audrey Hepburn, Rio Ferdinand, Halle Berry, frankly not that much younger than he looks now, Keir Starmer, although he is looking a little bit fat-faced recently. The pressure of leadership gets to these people. And finally, we have Jodie Kidd. Many people are accusing all of their errors on spell checker this week. I say it is incumbent on you to check that the spell checker hasn't changed your answers. I cannot be held responsible. Aside from anything else, chili is a word. So I'm not convinced that spell checker would automatically correct it to child. Especially seeing as the people who had the correction had spelt it with a capital C. But anyway, it is good to try to be generous in these matters. Alright, what were we saying? We were saying, 6 points for Andrew Lincoln, Audrey Hepburn, Rio Ferdinand, Halle Berry, my 8th cousin, as it happens, true story, Keir Starmer, and Jodie Kidd. Question 7, the narrow point. Which is narrower, the Channel or the Strait of Gibraltar? The answer is the Strait of Gibraltar. I think you all got that. On to the audio. Three names to identify. First off, we had Seth Rogen. Then we had a one-woman advertisement for bringing back hanging. It's Priti Patel. And finally, we had Harry Redknapp. 3 points for Seth Rogen, Priti Patel, and Harry Redknapp. Question 9. On a standard dice, what do the two numbers on opposite sides always add up to? It is 7. I think you all got that one right. Question 10. 4 odd ones out. Let's see. So I can't quite remember what the lyrics were from, but says that I am no fun. That wasn't in on the lyrics. Vinci. That is not named after Leonardo da Vinci. Of course, Leonardo of Vinci was named after Vinci. Time magazine, and finally, the nurse fish. There is a nurse shark, but only if you go to the COVID ward. So 4 points for says that I am no fun. Vinci, or Vinky. Vedi, Vinky, Vidi. Not in that order. Time magazine and nurse fish. Question 11. With an unusual rock formation known as the Three Sisters, the Blue Mountains are in Australia. There's some query about whether Halle Berry is really my 8th cousin, but I can provide you the family tree if you're interested. On to question 12. Give the words represented by just the red letters in picture 11. They are Barcelona, as in Football Club Barcelona. Vitesse, as in Train de Grande Vitesse. Film, as in British Film Institute. Resonance, as in magnetic resonance imaging. Vertical, as in vertical takeoff and landing. And finally, hits, apparently. Never knew this myself, but it is Video Hits 1. They were, again, Barcelona, Vitesse, Film, Resonance, Vertical, and Hits. 6 points available. Where was Rafa Nadal born? It was, of course, Majorca, where the water don't taste like what it ought to. Either the J or the double L spelling is entirely acceptable. On to question 14, 3 clips to identify. First off, Stand By Me. Then, The Dark Knight. That is not the Joker movie. That is The Dark Knight, in which, of course, Heath Ledger famously very well plays the Joker. And finally, Psycho. What do you call him? Alfred Hitchcock classic. Question 15 took us to picture 12. So, Stand By Me, The Dark Knight, and Psycho, 3 points. Paraphrase sports people. Wide was broad. I won't do all of them because I can't remember them. We then had Rapinoe, Kane. Oh, yes, Rapinoe as in Rapinoe, makes sense. Kane, Woods, Tiger Woods, a bunch of trees, whatever it was. Pinsent and Lendl, 6 points for. Broad, Rapinoe, Kane, Woods, Pinsent, and Lendl. I see that someone... Oh, no, well, they've just done that twice. Someone appears to have accidentally named a bunch of underground stations for question 15. I'm afraid you are going to lose points for that. Oh, and controversially, it's the World Health Organization. That could really affect our standings. If something is galine, what does it resemble? What does it resemble? Galine is of the chicken. Not everybody knew that, but that is chickens. Lendl, yeah, that's fine. Any Woods, Wood, yeah, I think that's also fine. Like I say, generous on spellings. If it is eminently believable that the person doing the writing down was writing down what they heard, can't be that generous. Lendl, who knows how to spell Lendl? When was the last time he won a tournament? Come on! Underground stations. Question 17. We have 4 to name. First we had Arsenal, then Euston, then Oval, and finally Aldgate East. Arsenal, Euston, Oval, and Aldgate East. 4 points available. Now, this is going to be a bit of a bugger to mark, for which I apologise, because the Spanish Main spans quite the geographical distance. But we are looking for any one answer out of the USA, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Venezuela. It looks to me like everyone gets a point there. Any one of USA, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, or Venezuela. Question 19, we had some famous speeches. And the words from the famous speeches are Abraham Lincoln, 4score. Martin Luther King Jr. said Georgia. Even Martin Luther King Jr. didn't expect any of this for Alabama, and one would have to assume, but maybe. Nelson Mandela said prepared to die. Personally in awe, with awe spelled O-R-E, sounds like he was getting ready to go into gold digging, and I'm afraid is not the correct answer. King, finally. Elizabeth I had the guts of a monitor lizard, but the stamina of a king, all words to that effect. And finally, as popularised by Malcolm Gladwell, how many hours does it take to become an expert in a given field? 10,000 hours, which is, of course, nonsense. That's how long it takes to find out whether you have the capability to become an expert or master, or in some cases, whether you just need to get a better instructional video. So, into the wipeout round, nearly done, running only a smudge later than late. Our first one, a 10-letter word meaning a substance capable of causing cancer in living tissue. That is, as everyone knew, a carcinogen. Indicating a new pathogen of a previously known type. What word was put before coronavirus? It is my old PhD supervisor's favourite word for a science result. It is novel. Everyone got that right as well. Which king In the film 300, led the Allied Greek forces to a last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae. That is Leonidas. Leonidas I, technically. Anyone who played Totopoli when they were little in the 60s will know that, of course, Leonidas II was a red horse. But Leonidas I for a point. The Italian wine grape from the Latin for the blood of Jupiter is Sangiovese. Not everybody knew that, but I don't think anyone's wiped out on it, depending on the generosity of spelling. I think those spellings all look acceptable to me. Captain of the Belgium national men's football team in 2018 was Eden Hazard, or Hazard, I suppose. Eden Hazard for the point. And finally, the monk with the Moët and Chandon is Dom Perignon. Dom Perignon for a point. You see that absolutely no one bothered to put the accent over the E, so you all wipe out. Sozzles. For picture 14, if they haven't got the names, do they get the points? Yes, sorry, the names are not part of the answers, I should clarify. We were looking only for the missing words. I was just giving you the names for historical interest. Oh, hang on, no, it did say missing words and names. That's what it meant. Names of the people. You see, I misrepresented that one. Let's see, what's everybody done? Oh, well, this will be very awkward if I've not understood what was being asked for by the quiz setters. How many people? Yeah, so I had fairly clearly indicated that we were only after the words. And it's very ambiguous from the text, so I'm only giving marks for the words. Well done, Meet the Parents, for filling in the quote givers. But I will not hold people accountable on that one, I am afraid. That is, to the extent that it is anyone's fault, 100% mine. Let's just check. What did the quiz setters think they were asking with that one? No, interestingly, even the quiz setters thought that they were only asking for the words, I think. So there we go. Yeah, so I don't think we did need names, really. I think it was if the, well, yeah, missing names. So not very well framed. I'll frame that one better next time. Anyway, well, all of this chuntering about how to deal with that has given us a chance for the scores to update, which can only be a good thing. But before we come to the final positions, which I think are still just filtering through the tubes, let us take a moment to remind you that I think even more so as we move into a second 6 months of whatever it is, of increased severity of measures and yada, 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 and everything else, it is a difficult time for people. If you enjoy doing the quiz and would like to make a little contribution to our local food bank, we have been encouraging people to do so, and we have been really very much bowled over by the generosity of everyone. I haven't actually checked for a couple of weeks. Let's see where we are. My goodness, we are up to £1,200, and that's just what we have raised since I put up a proper fundraising page. I know we had raised a few £100 before that. Anyway, if you would like to make a donation, I'm sure it would be very gratefully received by the food bank, and we are all very grateful and of course glad just to have you here. Shenanigans space exclamation mark. I'm afraid I have to dock you a point for the excess space there, Michael. Anyway, so yes, please do consider making a donation, and of course, if you would like to be inspired instead to give a donation to your own local food bank or appropriate COVID supporting cause, we would be very grateful. And Baz, who did the Beach Boys version we heard earlier, has been raising money for the NHS as well, also very worthy. So, final scores. It does look like everything is in. So, well, we'll see. Hopefully we're not going to have another confusion, although it is very tight at the top of the table, so I will have to do some checking. At the bottom of this week's scores, we have the Footlings, who had a difficult second half after a successful music round, on 95. One ahead of them, previous winners, the Lockdown Haircuts, on 102. One ahead of them, Midway Kings. I thought this could be your chance to come through and shine and take the victory, but you slipped a little in round 2, 103. The proud middling Brit Short expats, doing exceptionally well for a team out of the country and out of British people, 106.5. Sounds a bit hippie to me, bolstered by pretending they wrote Bob Dylan when they manifestly didn't, on 108. The World Health Organization, they were doing well, but they dropped points by not getting the answer into question 14 or whatever it was. Could have made all the difference, on 110. Meet the Parents, second place, 111.5, which means that pending a review of those very close scores with a half point more, 112, Katrina and the second waves, it looks like that is 2 successive victories. Well played, Katrina and the second waves. Well, that leaves me nothing more to say except stay safe, stay alert, do observe the new rules. As those of you who pay any attention to me on Facebook will know, I occasionally post from my good friend Mike Head, stalwart of the Tesco's bread unit and latterly epidemiology expert at Southampton University. And as he says, COVID remains serious, even if it is not fatal for you in the short term. It could have long-term effects and yada, 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 yada. So, do be sensible out there and wear your face masks, especially if we can get some Quizcazoatl publess pub quiz ones done. Anyway, we'll be back same time next week. I had indicated that we were going to start scaling down into October, but as it seems that lockdown is hotting up again, I'm going to roll that back. I'm U-turning like a Johnson. And we are going to assume that we will be presenting this right the way through October and November weekly. At some point I should find a guest presenter. I'm sure you're getting tired of my voice. And I leave you with, by popular request, the ever-pleasing VNV Nation. No, video unavailable. You can't play... You see, that's the thing, isn't it? You can't play official music videos through that particular framework that I've been trying to use. Let's see whether we can do it this way. So, anyway, have a good week. Stay safe. Yada, yada, yada. It seems we've acquired a cookie warning and it has stopped our song. Well,